news here in Schuman's Casino, catching up with cutman / detective / commentator, Mr. Mike Rodriguez. Mike, we're going to talk about Callum's Walsh's cut tonight, his performance. You were working his corner during the fight. What happened during that fight and that cut?
You know, he sustained a really bad cut. And most of the time when a fighter comes back to the corner, they're not as bad as that. I used to work with El Bandido, Francisco Vargas. I used to work with Sean Porter. They used to get cut just like that. As soon as Callum sat down, that cut was filleted from that accidental head.
On the eyebrow.
Yes. And even though I was able to stop the bleeding, I can't take the cut away.
Okay.
You know, and it was going to become a problem. Even though I felt like I had it under control after a round or two. You don't want your fighter to be handicapped to have to fight like that. If you remember, like Sin Tzu against Fundura,
yes.
I think if you remember Bado Jack against my fighter Marcus Brown,
it was split in half.
It can be a severe handicap. I used, every tool that I had to get it stopped, but in the end, it was a smart thing to do. We're winning the fight. Unfortunately, because it was an accidental, but they're going to go to the scorecards after 4 complete rounds. They're going to start that 5th round, and then we leave it in the hands of the judges.
I asked Elias Espadas, obviously Mr. Manny Robles, he was working his corner, being his coach tonight. Elias Espadas thinks that they delayed the decision for the fight because he thought at the end of the 2nd round the fight was going to be stopped, and it could have been a no decision.
Well, that was the doctor's decision. As you can see, Callum wanted to fight. Manny's a great friend of mine, just so you know.
I know.
That me and my girlfriend and Manny and his wife are getting together. Okay. I worked with Manny with a bunch of his fighting, including Toro Resendez, who recently became.
I was watching that fight.
Yeah, so
great victory for Team Manny.
Absolutely, but Callum's a warrior. He didn't want to win like that. But ultimately, the fighter's safety is really. I don't want something bad to happen to his eyes that maybe he can't fight again. So we followed the rules of boxing. That's what we did tonight. It was an accidental headbutt. It wasn't deliberate. It was a good fight, as you can see. Callum was winning every round against a very good, strong opponent. And we didn't want him to be handicapped where he was fighting with one eye. So the rules of boxing, after that 4 rounds, they're going to score the fight and really leave it up to the judges, and that's what we did.
Elias Espadas thinks of himself as a second half fighter, meaning from the 4th, 5th round on, he will pick it up and maybe he could have made the fight.
Yeah, but also, if my grandmother had balls, she'd be my uncle. No, I'm just playing. Espadas is a really good fighter.
Yes.
You never know what's going to happen, but our job is to look out. Freddie Roach, myself, Dickie Eklund, our job is to look out for our fighters.
That's why I'm asking, because I wanted to get the expertise's point of view and to see what the fight fans at home don't get to see when you're so up close working the fighter's corner.
Right. I felt I did my job. The cut was stopped. You could even hear some people in the audience saying, "There's not bleeding. It's not bleeding."
Right.
But it's more than that. When a cut happens like that, the fighter's eye does sustain some trauma. There was some swelling, and if he has any obstruction in his vision, you don't want him to have to fight.
I got to talk to Callum right after the fight. I saw that he got a few stitches. His eyelid, his eye area all around is pretty swollen. How many stitches do you think?
I think it was 8 stitches. I just talked to him right now. I believe it was 8 stitches.
How long do you think he'll be out for, Mike?
Probably about 3 days. No. Just knowing Callum, he's a fighter, but you do want that to heal for a couple of months. You don't want it flaring up. Dr. Hicks from the Athletic Commission stitched him up. He's a great surgeon and he knows what he's doing. And you have to leave every step of this and every stage of this. You have to leave it in the hands of the people that are qualified to do it. Me and Freddie and Dickie are working the corner. Our job is to look out for Callum, and then you leave it in the hands of the judges, qualified judges, and that's what they did, and the referee Rudy Barragan, and then you bring him to the doctor so he can get stitched up. So every step along the way, somebody's looking out for him, and that's the way it's supposed to be.
There you have it. Nobody could have said it any better than the man himself, Mike Rodriguez, one of the best in the business.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Mike, and thanks for explaining to us what the deep cut was about for Callum Walsh.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mike.